My mom, especially, was really proud that I never missed a day of school. And that was to my detriment. Um, so I would go to school even if I was sick. And I would never miss a day. And I have a reward. I think I threw it out after I was an adult because I hated it. But I had gotten a trophy from the school for never missing a day of school. But I would go when my period was starting, or I would be at school when it started, and I would have to go home. I would have to call for someone to take me home when my period started. And, I don't feel that being told to rest was the number one priority when you had a period. That for me, it wasn't. And so I would have such severe vomiting that I couldn't stop. I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't keep any food down. It was so bad that I had to call my mother home from work to bring me home to school. Call her at work to bring me home from school. And there were times when some workers from the school would just give me a ride because my mother needed help, and they were all close friends, so it was fun. I went to a Christian church school, which would have been a Christian academy, so a lot of the people there were church friends or associated in that way. We all knew each other. So anyway, there's several different times where I was throwing up so much. I would either have a basin, or I'd get up and go to the bathroom. But I was so dehydrated and so sick that I remember as I was walking back to go to bed, back to my room, that I was sometimes blacking out, almost passing out from vomiting, dehydration, or whatever. So it was not good, and yet the doctor kept telling me I was healthy, and my mother always told me I was healthy, and always told me that all the foods I ate were good and healthy for me. And so I guess I believed them, and I just thought it was me. It was something wrong with me. I didn't know what it was. And so that was one bad experience that I went through. There was another time when I was at volleyball practice, and all my friends were telling me that I was turning colors, that I was going from like white, from yellow to green to white, like different shades of being ill and nauseated. And I would go to volleyball practice, and despite feeling like utter crap, I was there practicing horribly. And it got to the point where I would just beg to go to the bathroom and stay there till practice was over. And the bathroom was like the changing room, And so I had two friends come with me that were my good friends, and they were saying there was just one time they said I was changing colors. And after that, of course, I was brought home from school, probably was given a ride. So it was just, I had so many incidents like this at school where I shouldn't have been at school. I should have been home. I should have been resting, not trying to work or learn. When I grew up and went to college, before I went to college, I was starting to get my periods worse and worse. They were starting to be more painful. I was starting to go numb in my hands and lower arms and in my stomach area during these vomiting episodes during my period. And it was so severe that it was getting worse and more worrisome. And I did not know, obviously, what caused it back then. I just thought I was cursed or something. So it was a scary time. And so that's how it was working, how it was going before I went to college. My first or second year, I had to be brought to the emergency room because once again, I could not stop throwing up. I had numb arms, numb hands, and my stomach belly area was numb. after hours of just dry heaving, vomiting, not dehydration. And yeah, I was in college. I was scared. I didn't know what to do to get better. One of my friends, I believe she was my ex roommate, she said, "You're coming with me. I'm going to give you a ride to the emergency room." I was in Canada at the time, and we drove all the way to Holton, Maine, to across the border for me to go to the emergency room. And of course, as soon as I arrived, they treated me like a flu patient. They completely disregarded anything I said about how my periods were getting worse and worse. And they put me on something for, to rehydrate me, some fluids. And once I was rehydrated and wasn't vomiting anymore, I don't know if they did anything for the nausea. They never gave me any medication for the flu, I'll tell you that much. So, but yes, I was treated like a flu patient. And then I was sent home. And I don't really recall it being much worse than that one time. After I got married, I was still having bad periods. It really was not as bad as the time I went to the doctors or the emergency room, but I was still struggling with it. And at that time, I started having a job, and I was a wife, and I still had to do everything on top of being sick. And there was not much understanding in that marriage because of it, or due to it, or whatever. By the time I was separated and on my way to get divorced, about 7.5 years later, I was shopping, looking through a bookstore, and I came across this book called PMS Self-Help. And I decided, you know what? I gotta know what this is all about. I want to know what's inside this book. I've got to read it. So I bought the book, and I don't know that I read it all immediately or in the first few months, but eventually I really sat down and I read that book. And I saw the guidelines on how to just slowly make small changes in my diet. And I actually started to see improvements in my diet. And not my diet, but my pain levels, my nausea, my throwing up. It got better. Because all this time I was, just making myself stay awake in the morning by drinking coffee. I was eating the American standard diet, and these were the normal foods that everybody ate, and nobody else seemed to get sick from it. So it must have just been me. I had no way of knowing that certain foods were gonna negatively affect me. So I have to say that book changed my life. And in more ways than one, it changed my life because it opened up the gates for me, I guess you could say. It opened my eyes to the food industry. It opened my eyes to the way all food affects me and other people. And it was really an enlightening time. And I really do encourage people following along, either for the free subscription on my Patreon or, subscribing to me, because I'm going to be sharing all of my tips, all of my research, and all of my various experiences from improving my health. And I really do hope it helps people. So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you there on Patreon with me. Bye.